Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women Racing to Win. Joe and Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. An exciting weekend of racing with a pair of female racers taking the win last weekend. Couple of races this upcoming weekend we'll preview, and more on the 2021 W Series. We'll start off with a preview of the 2021 W Series with Emma Timalainen.
Oh yeah, good evening everyone, and good morning if you're in the US. As we are going forward to this preview of the 2021 W Series grid, we previously talked about the top four in the 2019 inaugural championship in the W Series. Now here we are with another big protagonist of the first season, which was Emma Kymäläinen. Finnish 31-year-old driver. Emma has been one of the fastest drivers on track in the inaugural season of the W Series. And one of the most experienced racers as well in the championship. I would say probably the most experienced racer in the first championship in W Series. She has a huge experience in single seaters, even though she had quite a big gap in her programs in years. She was racing in the ADAC Formula Masters in Germany, which is now basically what has become the Formula 4 Germany. One of the most competitive Formula 4 championships in Europe, and Emma was very competitive there. She raced with Van Amersfoort Racing, which is really one of the top junior teams in Europe. And guess what? She was teammate with one Formula 1 driver, Kevin Magnussen, and she outscored Kevin in that series. So we can say that Emma was very competitive from very early on in her career. In single seaters, and then she went on to compete in the Formula Palmer Audi, which was a series that doesn't exist anymore, but it was very interesting because it was a fully spec series. Not many fully spec series right now in motor racing. We say fully spec series a championship that doesn't have teams, there is only one team that manages all the car, really like W Series is doing the championship right now. So Emma had a previous experience similar to that in the Formula Palmer Audi, which was managed by Palmer, the father of the former Formula 1 driver and Formula 1 driver himself in the 80s. And yeah, Emma was quick there. She finished fifth in the championship. Another very competitive series that had quite powerful big single seaters. But then after that, she was picked up by Audi as a official works driver. But then, unfortunately, she didn't have many opportunities after that. She was set for a test in DTM with the Audi. But then things really were slow moving after that, and famously she released this information just 1 month ago. She had a couple of opportunities to go to the United States, and then she decided to stop racing after a really not very smart offer from a race team. In Indy Lights and in Grand Am. She actually said that it was Grand Am, not Indy Lights, as she had previously remembered. She misremembered something that it was over 10 years ago. And then she stopped for 10 years racing. Came back to the Scandinavian Touring Car Championship with the PWR team, which is probably the most competitive TCR team in Scandinavia, in Sweden. The STCC has since then been rebranded TCR Scandinavia. And from this season, it's back to STCC. So she had a couple of very competitive season also in TCR Scandinavia, but then she had to switch from the more expensive single seaters to TCR, to touring cars, until the arrival of W Series, which gave her another opportunity in single seaters in Formula 3 cars. Emma was the oldest racer in the 2019 W Series grid, which went from 18-year-old drivers to 30-year-old Emma and Sarah Bovi. They were the two more experienced drivers. And I immediately straight away said that Emma was one to watch in the inaugural 2019 W Series Championship. She was very fast early on from the practice sessions in the opening round in Hockenheim. Very, very fast. Qualified on the second row of the grid. And unfortunately, she had a very unlucky accident in the opening lap of the Hockenheim race. She injured herself and she had to miss half a season. So definitely not what you would expect from a racing comeback like she was planning. She came back at the Norris ring. She was suffering from neck injury after the crash at Hockenheim. She wanted to come back to in Misano, but the doctors suggested her otherwise. So she came back in the Norris ring, and we had a pretty long interview with Emma at the Norris ring at her comeback round. You can find it on our website. Yeah, it was very interesting because we also spoke about her life outside of the racetrack. She's also a mother, which is very interesting because we talked about being a mother in motorsport. Well, actually, a mother as a top elite athlete. Which is of course challenging, but she said that also her family and her husband's family are obviously helping with that. So she is very grateful for that she is still allowed to compete at the top level in a sport like motorsport, which is very, very demanding from all the point of view, both physical and also on the travel sides. You always have to travel everywhere in the world. And I asked her if she would have been happy if her daughter was to join motorsport, if she was maybe interested or passionate about motor racing. And her daughter, I think she was 7, and I think now she's 8. She actually said that she was just starting to try out karting, which was very interesting. And of course, we don't know if she's set for a debut in motorsport anytime, but that would be very interesting to see. Emma did very well in the second half of the W Series 2019 championship. She scored a 5th place at her what was basically her debut at the Norris ring, which was the only street circuit in that championship. And then she went on to win the race in Assen, the second race that she did in W Series. Here is a picture of Emma winning in Assen, and then she was again on the podium and fighting for victory in the season finale in Brands Hatch, where she came second behind race winner Alice Powell. But they were fighting for that victory all the race long, and this is a picture I took of her under the podium in Brands Hatch. So very, very competitive driver. After the Brands Hatch race, she told us that she had unfinished business in W Series, so she definitely wanted to be back for a second year. Of course, as a 31-year-old driver, she also has to look for other options, like she was looking for options in sports cars. Why not in GT cars? But obviously, Formula experience is what really makes a difference. So she was for 21. We have not seen the best of Emma Kimiläinen, and 2021 might just be her year, I would say.
Definitely anticipating a big breakout year for Emma. I know a lot of folks, especially as you mentioned, that story that came out about a month ago in regards to the Indy Lights Grand Dam deal that really set her where she wasn't racing for 10 years. Very unfortunate for everybody to not see her talents, but we're definitely excited to see her back on the track in 2021. Now, of course, for everyone tuning in, we were supposed to have a guest, Fabio, from W Series as well, join us today. Unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, unable to join us today, but definitely we're going to be looking into having her next time on the program. Can you tell us a brief little introduction about her to our viewers?
Oh yeah, definitely. Fabian Volvend is another very interesting driver. She is from Liechtenstein, which is curious. It's a very, very small country in Europe, between Switzerland and Germany. And Liechtenstein, definitely not a big country, but Fabienne is probably one of the most popular athletes competing worldwide from Liechtenstein. And she had already a very big victory to her name, as she won the 2018 Ferrari Challenge World Finals. So she is the world champion. She was the world champion in the Ferrari Challenge in 2018, where the finals were in Monza. One of the most historic racetracks in the world, and Fabienne took a very historic and an incredible victory in Monza. So from everyone that followed her career before joining the W Series, we all knew that Fabienne was probably one of the most interesting profiles coming to the inaugural season in W Series. But of course, she was racing in GT cars, even though she had the Formula 4 experience. She had raced previously in the Italian Formula 4 Championship, so very competitive series. But we knew that she was probably racing in the top 10 as soon as we saw her name. Of course, a champion, a motorsport champion in W Series was a big thing. And I don't know if many expected her to be so high up the order, but I would say for my side, yes. And she in the third round in Misano, she took pole position. And she claimed her first podium. She came third, behind Jamie Chadwick and Beitzke-Visser. And early in the season, she was probably always around the top 5. She was also very, very consistent throughout the whole season, and finished the inaugural championship in the 6th place overall in the points table. So coming into the second season in W Series, we definitely expect Fabienne to still compete at the highest level, top 5, I would say. The competition will be mega because, of course, with Jamie Chadwick returning to the series, Beitzke-Visser having a lot more experience now, also with the LMP2 cars. Again, as we said, Alice Powell, we had her on the show previously. Then Emma Kimilainen, as we just said, and then Fabienne Volden. I think those 6 are going to be the most interesting drivers to see. Fabienne Volden really one to watch, and also this year she still competed, not in single seaters. She did the Ferrari Challenge. She's very experienced with the Ferrari cars. She was really close to a victory, didn't win a race this year, but claimed many pole positions, finished the championship second in the points. So very competitive again after her historic win in 2018, again second this year in 2020 in the Ferrari Challenge Europe Championship. I think I still don't know, but we can ask her as soon as she can join us if she is still managing to do the 2021 Ferrari Challenge Championship, because it's been quite a few years that she always go there with her team based in Switzerland. And she also had a test in March, early March, before the European lockdown. She was testing in Valencia, which ironically will be the track that hosts the W Series 2021 collective tests before the start of the championship. And she was testing in Valencia with the Formula Renault Euro Cup series, which, as we previously said, even in the previous episodes, uses the same Tattoos Formula 3 cars that are used in W Series. So she has a little bit of experience of the track as well. And also she managed to get some mileage on the Tattoos Formula 3 car this year, even though just today's test, but still better than nothing, as many other drivers couldn't race in single seaters this year due to the pandemic, of course. So we are very, very excited to see Fabienne back in W Series, and to see her very soon on the show with us.
Definitely, I would encourage everyone, be sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Network. That way you don't miss any of our future episodes. Every Thursday, of course, this week, a special week with the 24 Hours of Daytona. So we had Grid Tonight yesterday. Here we are today, Grid, live on the Grid Tonight. And then, of course, Saturday, the pre-race for the 24 Hours of Daytona IMSA race. And that's going to be really exciting. Me, Kobe, and Aaron Vogel, who was on this program, we're going to be previewing the great 24-hour race in the United States. Now, one of the big great races that we have to talk about, of course, this last weekend, Hamda Al Qubaisi, he went out there, had a stellar weekend, and claimed the top spot on the podium.
Oh yeah, Hamda has been having a very competitive season again in the Formula 4 UAE Championship in her home country. The 18-year-old Emirati racer has already competed in the Formula 4 National Championship in 2020, where she took 3 victories and 12 podiums and finished 4th in the standings. So that was her first season, full season, I would say, in single seaters, because she had already entered the 2 races in the Italian Formula 4 Championship in 2019, together with her sister Amna, who was racing there with her own team, Abu Dhabi Racing. But the Formula 4 UAE series was her first full season last year, and she did very well. After that, she went on to compete in Italy, in the Formula 4 Championship, and also did 2 rounds of the 2 races, 1 round of the German Formula 4 series. She had 3 top 10 to her name in Italy and Germany, which is a very, very big thing in those championships, because there are massive grids, massive fields of over 30 cars, and all the drivers that are then going on to compete in the FIA Formula 3 championships. All these drivers are then being promoted to either the Formula Regional European Championship or the FIA, or straight to the FIA Formula 3 Championship. So all drivers that somehow we will be seeing in the Formula 1 weekend. So it's a very big achievement for Hamda to score at her first full season in single seaters, 3 top 10s in such championships. And then into 2021, she came back to the Formula 4 UAE Championship, which is a very competitive championship in the winter, because most of the drivers that are then preparing their European campaigns go to Asia for the winter series, because of course of the weather. And Hamda is now back in the UAE, racing again competitively in the Abu Dhabi racing team by Prema. So it's Prema that runs her number 88 Formula 4 Tatus car. And she had a double podium in her opening weekend in Abu Dhabi. Then in Dubai last week, this season, due to the pandemic, is always been it will be contested over 5 weekends back to back, so that the drivers are avoiding travels, because there are a lot of drivers coming from all over the world. So they will all stay there in the UAE for 5 weeks, completing the championships, and then and everyone is coming back home. So avoiding these travels, they elected to do the championship also, just like the Formula 3 Asian Championship that started today. So Hamda in Dubai for the second round, she managed to get her first victory of the 2021 season in the 4th race of the weekend. She had 2 top 5, P3, so another podium for her, and finally the victory, the first one of this season, and she's now 3rd in the championship, which is another massive achievement. There is Dilano Vanthof, which is a Dutch driver competing for Excel Motorsport team. Is very competitive, and he's currently leading the standings. Then we have Enzo Trulli, the son of the former Formula 1 driver Jarno Trulli. He competed for Toyota, Renault, a lot of drivers of teams in Formula 1 in the 2000s year. And then Hamda is 3rd in the championship. So she started very well this season again. And today she had the first race in the 3rd round in Abu Dhabi, but we will talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely a very exciting start for Honda. Definitely, it's going to be one of those things where seeing how 5 consecutive weekends of racing is going to really make the championship fun, easy to follow for Coach everyone. Be sure to follow all the drivers we discuss. We display their Twitter or Instagram handle in the driver bio. Another driver that's having a wonderful start, excuse me, to 2021, Samantha Tan, the young Canadian racer, is now 2 for 2 in 2021. After winning her class in 24 hours in Dubai, she entered the Abu Dhabi 6 hours. The team claimed pole for the 6 hour race. However, mechanical issues before the race got them on the grid a little late, but they were able to start up front. A late pit stop made it a real big challenge. There were 2 laps behind the leader with 40 minutes remaining. Samantha Tan, in the driver's seat, was able to charge back to the front in dramatic style to claim the lead and then the win. Samantha said, altogether, it was a stellar run by John and I. I'm so proud to bring home another win for my team. It was so special to have the Canadian anthem played at the podium. Definitely a weekend to remember. Of course, March 26, 27, the 12 Hours to Mugello is the next event for her. Big congratulations to Hamda Al Qubaisi on her win, Samantha Tan on her win. Very big accomplishments, and we got to talk about another congratulations to Maya Wig on her big accomplishment with the Ferrari Driver Academy.
Oh yeah, that was the other very big news from last week. The FIA Women in Motorsport Commission, which is led by former rally legend Michel Mouton, has been promoting this program, this new program. It's a 2-year program that started early this year. And it's a very, very important one, I would say, because it's the first one to start straight from the grassroots levels in karting, where all the drivers are starting out in single seaters. And as we always say that sometimes we get the questions why there are not many why there are no female Formula One drivers, or why there are not many female drivers in the elite Formula Championships. The answer, well, it's a bit complex, but the main part of the answer is because there are not enough female drivers in karting because of the percentage, I would say. So it's very, very important to promote financially a program starting from karting, and this is what the FIA Women in Motorsports Commission just did with this Rising Stars program. The Rising Stars program started in January 2020, and they asked all the national federations to say the names of the best female drivers competing in karting from the age of 12 to 16. So when the FIA had all the names, they did a selection, and they brought the top 20 worldwide female racers aging from 12 to 16 to Paul Ricard for the first assessment test. There, the drivers were put on the test, both on the driving style side, of course, on track, but also off track, also with the media relations skills, for example, or the physical training, or the nutritional point of view, for example. So a very demanding test for a whole week. And after that, there were 8 drivers were selected, those 8 drivers went on to another test in Paul Ricard. They started again with karting, and then they switched to single seaters, to a Formula 4 car. That was the first time that they were tested in Formula 4 machinery, except Juju Noda. We often speak about this very young Japanese driver who was already competing in the Danish Formula 4 Championship. So she got the opportunity to skip the karting phase and go straight into the Formula 4 selections. And also Dorian Pin, who is a 15-year-old French girl. She managed to skip the karting selections because she was already racing in cars, although in the touring cars she was racing in France in the Renault Clio Cup. But apart from that, these 8 drivers were then assessed on track again, and 4 drivers were selected. Those 4 drivers were Maya Weog, a very interesting 16-year-old driver from where she has multiple nationalities. She lives in Spain, but her parents are her father, I think, is Dutch, and her mother is Belgian, or the other way around, sorry. but she grew up in Spain, and she always competed in Spanish championships. Apart from the last couple of years, where she switched to international karting, she was very often in Italy, because Italy, we often say that it's one of the most important places where to start karting, and where all the very important competitions are taking place. So she competed in both in the European Championship, in the World Cup in karting, and did very well. She was then selected to the Richard Mille Young Driver Academy, which is a big sponsor. Of course, we know Richard Mille Racing in LMP2 category, in the WEC, and then last year in the European Le Mans Series, with 3 big stars in female racing, like Sofia Flörsch, Tatiana Calderon, and Baitske Visser. So being selected to in that program, in that young driver program for Maya, was already a very big accomplishment. And then that opened the door to her to enter as the official driver the Birel ART team, which is a very important karting team. ART, of course, we know that name also from Formula 2 and Formula 3. It's that massively competitive French team that also races at the very top of the single-seaters championships. So Maya, of course, was already on the radar of the most important teams. And we would say that it was a pretty easy name to predict that she would have made the cut into the final stages of that selection. Other names that were selected were 2 Brazilians. One was Julia Ayub, who is also a Richard Mille Young Driver Academy talent. Pretty interesting Brazilian driver, 15-year-old, that she raced in the European karting series last year. It was her first season in international karting. She did very well. So again, not a massive surprise to see Julia being selected for the Rising Stars final selection. And then Antonella Bassani, another female Brazilian driver. Probably she was likely the driver with less international resume of those 4, but again, she did very well in the selection process. And the 4th one was the French driver Dorian Pin, as we talked about her in racing already in touring cars in France. Those 4 drivers went to Maranello, to the Ferrari Formula 1 team historic and legendary headquarters, to complete a week program with the Formula 1 team. Where they were assessed by the Formula 1 team, and they worked together with the top management and the drivers, and the Formula 1 drivers. They had the opportunity to meet Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and also team principal Mattia Binotto. So and also, of course, all the Ferrari Driver Academy talents like Mick Schumacher, and also the management of the FDA. FDA, of course, is one of the most important young driver programs that today are bringing young talents to Formula 1. We've seen like Charles Leclerc, but also Mick Schumacher this year, and there are also other drivers like Robert Schwarzman currently competing in Formula 2, and then Armstrong also competing in Formula 2, Callum Ilott coming second in the 2020 Formula 2 Championship. All drivers that are part of the FDA, the Ferrari Driver Academy program. That started, I would say, a little over 10 years ago. In the first years, they didn't manage to find the super huge talents, but then really they picked up the pace. They brought Sergio Perez to Formula 1. I would say Sergio Perez, when he first entered Formula 1, he was part of the Ferrari Driver Academy program. And then Lance Stroll was part of that program as well. So really, they could manage to find a lot of important drivers now competing in Formula 1. FDA never had a female driver, and Mattia Binotto in January 2020 said that he was looking potentially for a female driver to enter for the first time the Ferrari team. That announcement really was something very new for a team like Ferrari. There were a lot of drivers that were obviously looking forward to that announcement. There was a little bit of a controversy with Sophia Flörscher saying that, of course, she was praising that thing for that announcement from Ferrari, but she also said that she was looking forward for it to be a real selection based on talent and not just a marketing gimmick. I would say that Sophia is right, and she was right, because the FIA, then Ferrari, partnered with the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission, and the selection was purely based on merit. So Maya Weuk was selected after the week spent in Ferrari, with a press conference that went online on YouTube last week. I was presented also by another interesting female driver like Gojar Dest, that she presented the conference, and Maya was selected. So all the best of luck for Maya for this year. She will be the very first female Ferrari supported driver, and as part of the program, she has signed a 2-year deal with Ferrari. For Formula 4, she will start this year in Formula 4, supported by the official Ferrari team. Next year, there will be another selection test like this one. So another driver will be selected. So for 3 years, there will be 2 female drivers as part of the Ferrari Driver Academy program. And that's the very first time. And all the best of luck to Maya for her first season as part of the Ferrari family.
Definitely wishing Maya the best luck in her future venture with Ferrari. That's going to be really exciting to follow her as she progresses throughout the racing career. Now, of course, we're coming towards the end of our program, but we do have some upcoming races to go over. And of course, we'll start with Formula 4, Formula 3, UAE. Can you tell us a little bit about the races this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend they're racing in Dubai for the 3rd round of their season, the Formula 4, while the Formula 3 Asian Championship is just starting the season. They gave the opportunity to international drivers to travel to the UAE and complete the 14 days quarantine that are required by the UAE legislation so far. So they start a little bit later than the Formula 4, that as was expected by the initial calendar. The Formula 3 Asian Championship is it's a very important series as well, because it's like the twin championship of the Formula Regional European Championship. They're using the same car, the Tatus Formula 3 car that is also used in Formula Renault Euro Cup and in the W Series. And this year, there is a huge field. I mean, there are 23 cars. I think it's the very first time that the Formula 3 Asian Championship has seen so many cars. But mostly, the lineup is amazing. The grid is super competitive. There are 4 Formula 2 drivers. There's Guan Yu Zhou, the Chinese driver that is also part of the Renault Formula 1 program, young driver program. There's Jehan Daruvala. There is Nissan, another Formula 2 driver. There are many other Formula 3 racers. There have been competing in the FIA International Championship together with Formula 1 this year. There are drivers coming from the Formula Regional European Championship. There are drivers from the top Formula 4 championships making the jump to Formula 3 cars. So huge grid, and all very competitive. Last year, Jamie Chadwick, the inaugural W Series champion, did the Formula 3 Asian Championship, and she won a race where she actually won 2, but one after the first one in Abu Dhabi, she was then penalized, and then she won in Chang International Circuit in the Philippines. In Thailand, in the final round of the championship, and she became the first woman to win a regional Formula 3 championship globally. This year, there are more cars in the field, as we said. The level is extraordinary, and there are again 2 female drivers on the grid. One is Irina Sidorkova, the 17-year-old Russian driver, SMP backed. Irina was set to make her W Series debut in 2020. Of course, the series was cancelled. She would have been the youngest ever W Series driver at only 16 years of age. She will still be the youngest ever driver at 17 this year, when she will make her debut at the French Grand Prix and Paul Ricard. Irina did the Formula 4 at that double campaign in 2019. In 2020 she was racing in touring car championships in Russia. So no single seaters for her this year, but in 2019 she had a double campaign in the Spanish Formula 4 and in her Russian Formula 4, in her home country Formula 4 championship. In Russia she had the podium to her name. She was pretty competitive. In the Formula 4 in Spain she was a little bit more challenging season for her, and she was competing with another two drivers that will later on this year will make their debut in W Series, who are Belen Garcia, a driver that we interviewed on our program earlier this year, and also Nerea Martí, another very, very competitive and talented Spanish driver. Irina was fighting with them, so she already know two of her competitors in W Series. But the fun fact is she never really raced in Formula 3 before. So this weekend, it will be her very first race weekend in a Formula 3 car. So it was always going to be very challenging for her. I would expect her to, I will not say struggle, but, still keeping up the pace in Formula 3 machineries, especially because in that championship, the Formula 3 Asian Series this year, the level of the field is so high that I wouldn't expect Irina to be fighting for the top positions, let's say. In the free practice sessions, she didn't make mistakes. She was consistent. She was improving a lot. She was at the very first session, she was 5 seconds off the pace, but since then she has massively improved session after session. She was then 3 seconds, then 2 seconds, 1 and 1.7 seconds off the pace in qualifying. Which on a race weekend, on one single race weekend, is a huge, massive improvement. So props to Irina for the improvements that she's showing this weekend in Dubai. In the first race, well, actually there is also another female driver. Very important one is Hamda Al Qubaisi, Hamda's sister. Amna had 1 year off racing in 2020. Unfortunately, she was not racing last year. Her previous season in competitive racing was in 2019, when she competed in the full 2019 Italian Formula 4 Championship, and she was not bad there. She was really improving. Making a lot of progress, again in a very competitive field, but then she had 1 year off, which we always know that can potentially hurt a driver momentum. But then Amna, also making her Formula 3 debut, never raced in Formula 3 cars before, in her own Abu Dhabi racing team, together with another 4 drivers, a pretty huge field from the Abu Dhabi racing this year in the Asian Formula 3 Championship. Amna was pretty competitive in the 2 opening sessions in Formula 3 Asia. She was around P18, P19, even though she had some kind of technical issues from early on. So she missed quite a lot of track time in practice. She unfortunately missed the qualifying again for a technical problem, so not the best of the start from Amna. But in the first race that went on early on today in the UAE, Amna had a fantastic race. She had a brilliant start. She managed to go up to 16th place, again in a huge grid, 27 cars. And she managed to finish P16. So as the very first race in Formula 3, with such a competitive field, with so many drivers, I mean, Guan Yu Zhou won the race from Nissani and Daruvala, so all Formula 2 drivers, and another Formula 3 driver came in 4th. So I would say that P16 for Amna was very, very impressive. She was very happy with pace, she said. Actually, her pace was very consistent, very good. And also Irina didn't have quite a bad first race either. She finished P19. She managed to do a couple of of overtaking on track. She was starting from the last spot on the grid. Well, actually, last row. But again, she also had quite a recovery and finished P19. And again, improved her lap times. So that's, I think, the most important thing from her very first weekend in Formula 3 for both of them, due to their experience. And tomorrow there will be race 2 and 3 in the Formula 3 Asia. And also in the Formula 4 UAE Championship, the Abu Dhabi, sorry, the Dubai Autodrome will play host to the third round of the Formula 4 UAE with Hamda Al Qubaisi. As we said, she won the race last weekend in Abu Dhabi. And she had quite a great start of this one as well with qualifying. She was third in qualifying, and again looking forward to another podium in race 1. Unfortunately, she had a crash coming into first corner. There was contact with another driver, and she was off straight from turn 1. There was a lengthy safety car. Van Toff won the race from Trulli. So her main rivals in the championship fight were first and second, so not great from a championship point of view. But Hamda will be back tomorrow for the race 2, race 3, and race 4, because Formula 4 UAE has actually 4 races per weekend. So still some hopeful for tomorrow's races. Not a great start from Hamda. Way better start from Amna and Irina, and we'll see what happens tomorrow in Dubai.
And also tomorrow as well, from Daytona International Speedway, the 24 Hours of Daytona, the Rolex 24 Hours, and we got 2 women racing there. Catherine Legg, she's going to be there racing, and one of her teammates is going to be Christina Nielsen. The 2 of them are both going to be racing this year's race. And then, of course, Christina is going to be doing IMSA races as well. So it's very exciting to see Christina teaming up with Catherine Legg. Of course, Catherine recovering from an injury last year. Now she's back. Very excited to see her, and especially in the Rolex 24 Hours, the 2 of them hoping for the best for their race this year. And of course, tomorrow on Grid Live pre-race, we're going to have IMSA pre-race coverage of the 24 Hours of Daytona. We're going to have Erin Vogel, who was on the show with us here earlier in 2020, giving her perspective of being a sports car racer in a 24-hour endurance race. She did the 25 hours of Thunderbirds. That's just an amazing race, 25 hours long. So definitely, we encourage everyone to check that out. Please like and subscribe to the Grid Network. Not miss any one of our programs, including next week. Hope to have our special guest joining us. Definitely will encourage everyone. Stay tuned. And then, of course, we'll recap everything that happened this past weekend and all the upcoming races. We encourage everyone to visit our sponsors, Publis, and one of our newest sponsors, Fastlane. For Joe at the Grid Network and Daniel at Racers, the girl behind the helmet, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. If you like motor racing and want to learn more about racing lines and setting the fastest lap times, you could download and practice What's the Fastest Line with Fastline, a new game app on the Google Play Store. Find the fastest lap around several courses and share your fastest lap time with your friends. Download today on the Google Store, Fastline. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.